the We're Going Family Style deal.
Because I want a bite of your Big Mac.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
I'll try your Filet-O-Fish.
There's a deal for every friend group at McDonald's. Order any 2 classics for just $6. Price of participation may vary. Single item at regular price cannot be combined with any other offer.
CERN. More details at srnnews.com. I'm Ron DeRockstra.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
Good morning. I'm Gail Nankervis, your host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show, and I'm the owner of Blue Skies Mediation in Peachtree City. I help people get a less sucky divorce. Not you, but maybe your neighbor or friend or sister. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and a licensed family mediator, and I use these skills with my clients to help them get a professional divorce without escalating fees and emotions. My goal is to help them get through the divorce process while retaining their sanity, their assets, and most importantly, their integrity. So the topic of divorce for a radio show might seem a little weird, but with more than 50% of marriages ending in divorce, I thought it was important to share information and resources with the community. Even though divorce is very common, people don't typically talk about it while they're going through it. You usually just hear the nightmare stories at the end of it. So my goal is to change the way people in our community get divorced through educating them about different aspects, the process, the financial side, the emotional side, and everything in between. I'm excited to be here today, and we will be right back with the Less Sucky Divorce radio show. I'm Gail Nankervis, your host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show, and I'm the owner of Blue Skies Mediation in Peachtree City. I help people get a less sucky divorce. Not you, but maybe your neighbor or friend or sister. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and a licensed family mediator, and I use these skills with my clients to help them get a professional divorce without escalating fees and emotions. My goal is to help them get through the divorce process while retaining their sanity, their assets, and most importantly, their integrity. Good morning. This is Gail Nankervis, your host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show. Happy Friday. I'm glad to be here. We're having some beautiful weather here in Noonan. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and I'm looking forward to our guest today, who is Sarah Marchand, who is a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway. She was my guest a few weeks ago, and today we're going to finish up some of the conversation from our last conversation. So I'm glad to have you here, Sarah. Welcome.
Hi, Gail. Good morning. What a beautiful morning it is.
I know. I can't wait to get out and enjoy the weekend.
I know. Me too.
Do you have anything good planned?
I do. I'm going to see 38 Special, actually, at the... Oh, wow.
Remember that movie with Dolly Parton?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I remember that was so crazy, so risque. Again, talk about the 80s. So I'm looking forward to seeing that at the Noonan Theater.
Yeah,
and so,
I love going to the theater. Oh, yeah, I have to look into that, definitely.
Yeah, we have a real gift there.
How long is it playing for?
I think it's only through Sunday. I could be wrong. It might be next weekend, too.
Okay.
I usually just get my ticket and forget about the rest of when it's available.
Yeah.
But it's the Noonan Theater. It's a historic building. It's really lovely what they've done. They've been able to restore it. And it's a nonprofit, too. They have summer camps for the kids. And I went to actually a children's production a few weeks ago of Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, wonderful.
And it was, it was really fun to be able to just see. I don't even have children of that age anymore, but it was still fun to go to the show.
You're going to have to keep reminding me, because I only ever look into Atlanta when I go out to the theater or something. I never think about staying local.
We've got so much. And it's just more fun and more homey. And, I like to do stuff. I like to get out and explore. Although if I sit at home, I get too bored. And
me too. It's like you can't sit at home and twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah.
But it's like gas prices are going so much. It's like I've literally filled up my gas tank 3 times this week just by traveling up to Atlanta and back again every day. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Are you going up to Atlanta a lot for clients?
Yeah, pleasure and both.
Okay.
So...
Well, so this market has been just crazy with real estate.
Yeah,
one thing I'd like to talk about with you today, there's actually a couple things. One thing we touched on in our last conversation was the concept of nesting.
Yes.
And then I also want to talk about what it's like to buy and sell in this crazy market, and if you have any pointers for people who
are at a point where they have to make a decision because they're getting divorced or any other reason.
It's a tough one. That's a tough market. So let's go to the nesting part. Nesting is a very interesting subject when you're getting divorced.
Well, why don't you tell us what your
nobody really
is.
understands what nesting is. Nesting is when, let's say, you are wanting to keep your house, but you don't really... Usually it's kind of like when somebody is controlling. And I say that in a flippant way, but it's kind of, it's a controlling way of keeping the house and everything, the kids together, whatever. I don't think it's a good idea. But if people can do it, nesting means one partner will move out for a week while the other person lives in the house, and then the other person will come back for the following week, and the other partner will move out. So you're basically sharing a house without living together. And if you are in a really good relationship with your ex, it can work well, especially when the children are small. However, you have to be in such an amazing place with your ex to be able to do that, because there are so many things that could go wrong with nesting. And, you don't want to be arguing in front of the children. You don't want to be doing any of these negative things in front of children. And if you're sharing a house, then you are literally sharing a life together. And, when you get divorced, you basically want to be divorcing that person and not sharing that life anymore. So, some people have opted for it. It's quite big in California, I think, at the moment. There's quite a few people that do that, mainly because they really can't afford to go buy another house. So they'll nest, they'll keep the house, and then one person, you'll go rent a cheap apartment or, I don't know, live in a trailer or something, whatever, and then you'll just swap in and out of the house.
Do these people who nest typically share the apartment too?
Yes.
So
yes, typically.
So whoever stays, so they're sharing an apartment, and that way you have one apartment, not two, and then the other week you're in the house. But either way, you're in each other's personal space.
Yes.
And bedroom and bathroom.
Yes.
I imagine people come home from their week and there's a lot of dishes and laundry.
And that's when I say it gets a little tangled, because you have to set really good rules, and you have to be in a good space with your ex to be able to do that. You haven't the choice of being angry or bitter with somebody to nest successfully. So if you have any kind of anger or bitterness towards your ex, don't do it.
Oh, and I think most people, no matter how good a divorce is, there's usually some sort of antagonism.
Of course, and people do it for controlling as well. People will choose to do that if they're maybe narcissistic or they want to still control their partners. There are ways that they'll try and sort of like force this upon them, and in those situations, it's not a good place to be. So, because they don't want you to be out of the relationship fully, but they want their freedom.
Right.
So it can be a little
And I
tricky.
imagine the thinking on that is just that it's what's best for the children, because then the children don't have to move back and forth and be disrupted and leave their baseball caps at home when they need to have it with them.
Exactly.
But it's interesting that people make so many emotional decisions about the house. Almost as many about the house as they do about the children.
Right.
It's obvious why you make emotional decisions about children, but the house, some people have memories in it and can't let the memories go, or feel like it's not fair for their children that they're quote-unquote losing a parent, so at least we need to keep them in this house, whether we can afford it or not. We need to keep this form of stability. And then there's just as many people that want to get the heck out of the house because of the bad memories that are there.
Well, if you choose to nest and you're in a good space with the divorce, it is probably, for the children's sake, one of the better ways, because as we all know, kids are affected negatively. Every kid, doesn't matter who they are. Every single child that is a product of divorce is affected negatively. And how do you quell any of those kind of negative things that are going to happen to the children? One of the ways to do it is to nest, but you have to be in such an amazing place with your ex. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The children will get more messed up if you do nest and you're not fully able to do that in a mature and, positive way. So nesting is great if you can do that. Nesting is, kids stay in their rooms. They never have to pack their bags. They never have to go anywhere else. They don't have to be traipsing around or meeting at certain times or, whatever parent forgets to pick them up from school because they've forgotten that it's their time or whatever. None of this will happen. The kids stay secure in one place. But that's hard to do when you're dating after divorce or something like that.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah, well, that I can see how that would cramp your style. Yeah. Of course, dating after divorce is difficult anyway. That's a subject I need to have on the show a whole different day.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. When I was separated leading up to my divorce, my ex, he would come home if I needed to go out of town for something, for work, or I took a trip with my mom to Israel one year. That was a very cool trip. And so he came and stayed at the house with the girls. And we still trusted each other. I trusted him. I don't really have any secrets that he could be trying to uncover or find. About 3 years later, I had moved and I was unpacking and I found actually there were little Bible studies that I had been doing where I had written down some of my thoughts, some of my prayers, some of just the kind of a diary even of what I had been going through. And he had written all kinds of obnoxious notes next to them.
Wow.
And I'm glad I didn't see them for 3 more years, but they were mean and nasty and basically taking everything because those books were my heart. Everything that came out of my heart went into those journals.
Right.
And for him to just be writing nasty notes and circling things and attacking me, and knowing that he must have done that while I was out of the house and he was going through my stuff, intentionally looking for something. And then to have these hurtful notes, it was very immature, but it was very hurtful even years later.
Of course. All of that stuff. I mean, people are crazy. I had a client who was nesting, and it was basically done out of a narcissistic need to control the spouse. And she was not in a good space when they got divorced. She had been battered, and she didn't know how to really get out of the divorce safely. So she just agreed to everything that he wanted. And he would come into the house and, basically destroy things each time. They had it in their agreement that they could lock up their bedrooms, and he would break in and he would go through her stuff. He would steal things. He ripped up every picture. He would put bacon juice down because she was the one that was on the hook for repairing anything. And so in nesting as well, that's kind of something you have to talk about, is who repairs, who has the added expenses. Should be split. But in this particular scenario, she was on the hook for everything. So he literally would come into the house, he would put the heating on max, he would put the cooling on max. So as you can see, that everything bills were higher. I mean, he would destroy things, steal things.
Wow.
Break into her space, even down to her underwear.
Oh gosh.
I mean, ridiculous things that he was doing.
That's not safe. That's not okay.
Right. And he'd block her entrance a couple of times. When she tried to get back, he would lock her out. It was just a mess. And trying to get out of that, she managed to get him out. But it was a long process in the courts and to get him out. So it was tough.
So have to be the right people for that. So when people finally decide that selling the house is right in divorce, actually I have a client now who is just coming through, finishing the divorce, and they were able to sell the house quickly because there's not a lot of houses on the market, but now they can't find anything.
Right, that's the problem.
What are some tips you have, or how are you helping people in this crazy market?
Well, I mean, as we know, if you're a listener and you don't know, the market has been insane the last couple of years. Interest rates were very low last year, so if you own a house, you most likely would have refinanced to a very low interest rate, and now the interest rates are climbing. So imagine that you want to sell your house at this point. You're going to go from a 3-point interest rate to a 5.5 interest rate. Not many people are willing to do that, so there's a very low inventory out there. The houses are not moving. And we have more buyers than we have houses for sale, so we're going into multiple bidding situations. Appraisals are coming in lower than people are bidding, and it's just been quite tough. So we have put things in place. You know, if you're a client of mine and you want to buy a house, for instance, I will make you do an escalation clause. These are things that if you go into a multiple bidding situation, you can tell the seller's broker that you want to, add $1,000 to the highest bid that comes in. So maybe you can win the bid if you can afford it, and you cap it. You can put it to, let's say, $20,000 over.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
Yeah.
And is that typically, what's that called? Escalation clause?
Yes, escalation clause.
And is that typically paid in cash, or can that be put onto the mortgage?
Well, and that's something that you have to talk to your lender about. The lender will help you. Let's say you have 10%. Typically, we'd have 10% to put down on a house. Your lender might suggest that you only put 5% down and then keep the rest of that money just in case you need that bridge between the appraisal and the actual price that you've bid towards the house. Because when you have a multiple bidding situation, let's say you have 6 bidders coming in $5,000 each over, that's bringing your, $30,000 over asking. The appraisal might not come in at $30,000 over asking. The appraisal might just come in at asking. So you're going to have to bring $30,000 to the table.
Wow. Why do you think that, I guess, are the appraisers just looking at, they think the market is artificially inflated now? Why are the appraisals not keeping up with the actual sales prices?
Well, it's hard to keep up. The sales prices are going up and up and up, and the appraisal doesn't know how many bids there are. They have no idea. They're going to go, they don't know what you're bidding on a house. They go in and they say, this is what this house is worth in today's market. Now, somebody just paid $30,000 for it. When it closes after 30, 60 days, another appraisal in the neighborhood would come in and look at that one and say that now the market is worth more because this one sold for that. It
just takes some catch-up time.
It takes catch-up time, and there are also appraisers out there that are not in the state. Like if you use something like Rocket Mortgage or one of these online mortgage companies, sometimes they'll hire appraisers and they could be sitting in a desk in Ohio. So long as they have a license in Georgia, but they could be outside of the state and don't really know what's going on, and they just do online appraisals, and they're not really getting the idea of what's going on. So those appraisals come in quite low sometimes. Yeah. So it depends on your lender. Always, always, always make sure with the lender that the appraiser is going to go out to the house, look at the house in person, and also ask your real estate agent to pull up some comps in the neighborhood that are going under contract, if they know they're in bidding wars and things like that, to give to the appraisers, to show the appraiser, well, this house just closed, or this house is in contract right now, and we know it's gone into multiples. So those things will help also.
So is it not typical for the realtor to help to give that information to the appraiser?
Really, because sometimes
value added.
Yeah, sometimes they don't see them, or sometimes it's like, you haven't really needed to do that unless the market's gone crazy like it is today. I mean, normal markets, the appraisal comes out and your appraisal since last year, it's probably rise 3% or something. Right now it's going up 15% a year in some areas. Some areas 20% since last year. And the year before that.
Wow.
So, you've got to help as much as you can to help your buyers to actually get it. You don't want your buyers to be having to bring $30,000 to the closing table at the end of the day. You want your buyers to bring the minimal that you have to bring to the table. So you'll do anything to help your buyers.
So, Sarah, what happens if a lot of people buy houses on contingency? Mm-hmm. So, like in this case, if a couple is divorcing and they sell their house, that they need to wait for their share of equity to be paid out before they can buy a new house. What tips? What can they do in this market, if anything?
It's tough for this market. to have a house contingent.
Okay.
There's so many people wanting homes right now that to put a bid in on a new home and to say it's contingent on me selling my home, it's probably not going to be accepted because there's going to be another bid that's going to come in and say they want it now.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it's definitely not going to be accepted, but because the low inventory is so low, it is going to be that's a contingent offer. There's going to be so many clean offers out there that they don't really need to accept a contingent offer. So what I suggest to the sellers or the new buyers in a divorce case is to hold off. Wait till the house is closed, go rent something for a couple of months, and then have the cash in hand, go and buy something, when you're ready. Mm-hmm. Because if you keep offering with contingents on, you're going to be, you're going to get your heart broken, basically, in this market.
Right. I'm seeing that happen with the current client now. Yeah. And it's hard. Yeah. So there's really just nothing other than if you need a separate pot of cash.
Yep, exactly. If he can get a loan without needing the cash out from his house, without anything, or if he has a pile of cash under his pillow somewhere that he can go buy a house, that's the only way he's going to do it at this point.
Well, I don't know anybody with piles of cash under their pillow or a money tree, for that matter.
No, I tried to grow one once and it died.
It's all right. We make our own money, girl. We make our own money.
Yeah, so, Anyway, I have a black thumb. Honestly, it's ridiculous.
What about new construction? Is that any different these days than...
It's going very fast. There's a lot of supply chain issues with new construction. Windows. Wood was like the actual, wood was a problem for a while. I think it went down in price, but windows are still a problem to get the windows in. So builders are having issues building. And, this is the first time in any market that we've actually seen existing homes selling quicker than new homes because people want to get in now. And with the new homes, they're selling fast, like hotcakes. But, if you I had a client last month who we put a bid on a new home. They won the bid. And throughout the process of, learning about the actual new build and everything, what they were going to do with it, the windows are going to be 6 months out. So they kept pushing the closing date was going to be for August as it was. They kept pushing it out, and it ended up being, in December of this year. And finally, they were like, we can't do this, so let's go find a house that we can move into right now. And so we did. We backed out of the contract, and we bought a house that was, pre-existing. So
now, are those contracts, are they contingent on stuff like not being able to get supplies and materials, or do they have to lose a deposit in that case?
No, because the new build, once you have the actual, date set, for instance, if it's going to go over that date, that's a contracted date. If you're going over that date, you can negotiate it, but if the negotiations say another 4 or 5 months and you're like, well, I want to move in when we said we were going to move in, they will win their earnest money back because they're not going to be,
They're not breaking the contract.
They're not
it's
breaking
essentially
the contract.
builders are failing to deliver.
Exactly. Thank you. How do I not? My brain isn't working today. I didn't sleep well last night.
Oh, I didn't notice you didn't.
My brain is
I think you're doing great.
Today.
I just rephrased something you said. That's all. My refrigerator broke last year, and that's fairly urgent. I've got a couple $100s of food in there.
Yes.
So I went to all the local stores trying to find a refrigerator. I was going to wait 2 months to get a new fridge.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. So used appliances came in extremely handy. And I bought the ugliest one out there, but it was delivered the next day.
I'm wondering if it's the one I put to the dump last year. I had an electrical outage in my house, and I had a fridge in my garage.
And wait, say that again for our listeners. And you're where?
In my garage.
Your fridge was where?
Shush.
So one more time.
In my garage.
Okay, all right.
So my fridge was in my garage.
Y'all need to just go buy houses with Lisa just to hear her say garage and what do you call the bathroom?
Sarah.
What did I just say?
Lisa.
Lisa. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, everybody.
Sarah.
I do know this is Sarah. Sarah and Lisa and I spend time together, though.
Yeah. Lisa's that other
I was too busy thinking about the loo. Do you also use that word?
Of course.
So if you want Sarah to use fun words like garage, I can't even say it, and loo, she would be a great realtor just for amusement's sake, if not for her wonderful talent.
I was up at Avalon last night. Do you know Avalon in Alpharetta? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that place. There was 2 cars that went by at the same time. They were behind each other, and they had no hoods on their cars, right? The engine was exposed.
Oh, right.
And I sat there, I was out at dinner, and I sat there, and I looked, and I said, oh, they have no bonnets on their car. And, you know, my friend looked, and he goes, what? You have no what on your car? And I was like, oh, yeah, hood, sorry, I forgot. All these little things.
Bonnet.
Anyway, but I was talking about my fridge. So my fridge, the electric went out in my house. I had forgotten that my fridge was in the garage. Don't go in there very often, right? And I have all my frozen stuff in there. And then about 2 weeks later, I told my kid, I said, go and get something out of the freezer in the garage. And he comes back and he said, Mom, he goes, I can't even open that door. It was so nasty because the fridge had tripped the GFI plug on there, and I never turned it back on after the electric came back on. So that fridge was full of food. It was the most revolting. It was like something had died, or 100 things had died in that fridge. And I mean, we took it out. We took it out in the driveway and tried to clean that out. It was just so bad. I mean, I've never gagged so much in my life. There was maggots everywhere.
Oh, God.
So my neighbor, thank goodness, has a trailer, so we trailed it all the way to the dump and put it in the dump. But it was bad. I've never experienced that kind of nastiness before. It was horrible.
Oh, yuck, yeah. One thing that I liked about living in Florida, I lived there for 20 years, was hurricane season. It was always a good time for me to clean out the refrigerator and the freezer. So, you know, the 5 days of panic leading up to the imminent power outage, I got all of the food in order of what we were going to eat and how soon it was going to defrost in what order. And I had this complete rotation for like the next 2 weeks of meals based on what was in the freezer,
Wow, and so efficient.
I was. First we'd make meals from what was in the fridge and then go down as the freezer stuff was thawing out. I had this incredible system, but, you know, we were sometimes without power for 6-7 days, so we had to get creative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't actually cooked food for, I don't remember when now. My son is literally not eating anything. He works and he goes to his restaurant and eats.
Oh.
I literally don't cook anymore. I'm just like, wow. So my fridge is empty.
Oh.
Literally empty.
So what do you eat then?
Nothing. Well, I go out to eat all the time now.
I buy a bunch of those bagged salads.
I love
and eat the heck out of those. And I love Costco. So they have some terrific
they do,
chicken skewers there that can go on anything and everything. And so I'll chuck them on a salad and go to town. They even have salad toppers because God forbid I just eat some lettuce. No, we've got to throw every kind of seed and nut and berry on top of them, so that it's no longer healthy. And I mean, maybe there's some omega-3s or 6s in there, but it's no longer fat-free.
Yeah, when I went to Costco last weekend, I had a friend who had a party, and they asked me to bring some dessert, and I went to Costco, and I bought all of these, like, pastries and cookies, and, I mean, so many. And I came home, and I was like, there's way too much. I put them all on a platter, and it was way too much, so I stood and ate so many of them. The next day, I was so sick. I was so sick, but I swear, they had the most delicious almond, like, pastries and these raspberry cookies. I was just...
They baked them right there.
They were so
They baked them right
good.
there. Yeah. So over the holidays, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they literally have pie makers that come in and bake overnight. Like a shift that comes in at 10 o'clock at night so they can bake and have fresh pies in the morning. It's pretty amazing, our Costco here. I'm lucky. It's right around the corner for me. So,
yes.
Well, gosh, we're getting a little off topic, but it's about home ownership and life and just life, and that's what this is about. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up today about buying or selling a home in this time, or maybe give us your contact information, or both?
Yep. So if you need any help with your real estate, if you're thinking about selling your house right now, please give me a call. My name is Sarah. Last name is Marchand, Marchand. My phone number is 770-712-2753, and I am available to help you whenever you need it.
Okay, and if you need a bigger garage or an updated loo, I think Sarah is the right person to call. And as always, you can find me, Gail, at Blue Skies Mediation. And if you're driving and can't remember that, look me up at lesssuckydivorce.com or send an email to me at Gail, Gail, at lesssuckydivorce.com. If you have any questions, anything you'd like me to cover on future shows, topics about divorce, it can be anything. Or if you have just a private question, feel free to email me. If you're driving and weren't able to write Sarah's information down, I can provide that to you as well. So please reach out to me. And I hope you enjoy this weekend. Maybe we'll see you at the Fred. And maybe another festival out and about in Noonan.
Absolutely.
I know there's a lot of sporting events.
Oh, I'm going to play pickleball right now.
Mm-hmm. What? Pickleball?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you never tried it?
I just saw a pickleball court for the first time the other day. I was very surprised. I had no idea. I thought it was more like bowling or lawn darts or something.
No, it's really fun. So in Noonan, they have the Hop.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a brand new facility of pickleball.
The Hop sounds like a bar.
It does, doesn't it?
It's not a bar?
It should be like, they should be serving wine while you're playing pickleball. No, it's a house of pickleball or something.
Oh.
Yes, so it's fun.
Okay.
Go check it out.
Okay.
You should come play with me.
Maybe I will. You got yourself some new sneakers for this?
I did. I got new sneakers, a new little tennis skirt, looking rather snazzy.
I kind of look homeless when I do sports, but I'll work on that so I can keep up with you. You fashionable Europeans, you. All right, well, thank you for joining us on the Less Sucky Divorce radio show, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a great week. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm Gail Nankervis, your host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show, and I'm the owner of Blue Skies Mediation in Peachtree City. I help people get a less sucky divorce. Not you, but maybe your neighbor or friend or sister. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and a licensed family mediator, and I use these skills with my clients to help them get a professional divorce without escalating fees and emotions. My goal is to help them get through the divorce process while retaining their sanity, their assets, and most importantly, their integrity.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies. Do I see?
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
The pandemic has been hard on all our kids. New studies show more than 1 in 3 children who started school in the pandemic now need intensive reading help. Here's the good news. Your child can be reading in just 30 days, guaranteed, with Hooked on Phonics.
My first grader was behind in reading, and this program has made a huge difference. She's now reading above grade level.
I use it for my kids' nightly reading for school. We love it, and it's super easy and quick to do.
My kid, who just turned 4 years old and has been using the program since January of this year, can now read. Thank you so much, Hooked on Phonics.
Even if your child has been struggling, Hooked on Phonics will teach your child to read in just 30 days, guaranteed. And right now, you can get started for just $1. Text the word KID to 323232 right now. It's fast and easy. Text KID to 323232 and teach your child to read in just 30 days, guaranteed. Text the word KID to 323232. Text KID to 323232.